couple of years ago, I came into touch with some people from the public health service in the south of the Netherlands, in the region I grew up in. And what they told me about the health situation of the people in our region was really shocking to me. People have more overweight, have more chronic diseases, and have a lower life expectancy than anywhere else in the rest of the Netherlands. But what really shocked me was the fact that this pattern of ill health seemed to be unbreakable, because it's passed down from generation to generation. Now today I want to talk to you about a way I think we can improve this situation. And for me, the lever for change are children. Because by educating children about a healthy lifestyle and by letting them experience a healthy lifestyle, we can work at the root of the problem. It's simple. Children who don't learn an unhealthy lifestyle won't have to unlearn it as adults. Now, I've worked in education for the most of my adult life. And as educators, we are really committed to the well-being of the children we work with. I mean, we care about a lot more than just high grades. We care about their safety. We care about the way they develop as a person. We care about their future opportunities. But somehow, we don't seem to care about their physical health. Now, we seem to think that's mainly for the parents. Isn't that strange? I mean, children are at school 8 hours a day, and we put the attention for their physical health on hold for all those hours. I guess that's really, really strange. Now, I was born in 1967, in the middle of the summer of love. And as great as that may sound, the years that followed weren't that great at all, because I grew up in Limburg, in the south of the Netherlands, in a region that was dominated by coal mines. And a few months after I was born, the Dutch government started to shut down these coal mines. And the effect was devastating. Unemployment soared, and a lot of the unemployed coal miners had literally nothing else to do but waiting for better times. Working in these coal mines was physically intense, and it required high-calorie food. And for a lot of the unemployed coal miners, their physical activity suddenly stopped. But food-wise, their lifestyle didn't change. They gained weight up to a point where they got too heavy, and this really became a problem for their health. We even have an expression for this in the south of the Netherlands. We call it a Burgundian lifestyle. And although with every bite of chocolate, with every bit of junk food, with every glass of beer, we get a little bit closer to a heart attack, we just call it a Burgundian lifestyle and feel good about it. However, giving something bad a positive title doesn't change the situation. And the fact that children were and still are confronted with this situation too makes it even more worrying. Now, I certainly don't want to say that everyone who's overweight can really do something about it, because there are a lot of reasons why people get overweight and get sick. But if children learn an unhealthy lifestyle that eventually leads to overweight and illness, then that really gets you thinking. What can you do about that? I mean, there is no quick and dirty solution here, and changing a deep-rooted lifestyle may even take more than one generation. But we have to start somewhere. Now, we could start here in this room, adults, but for us as adults, it's usually very hard to unlearn something that we learned throughout our lives. I mean, many of you here today might recognize the struggle with junk food, or the fact that we are more or less addicted to sugar and salt. And I myself, on more than one occasion, felt that I should lose a few pounds. I want to share a secret with you. I like to look good in summer in swimming trunks. But after a long winter, this body just doesn't seem to want to cooperate. So I start eating less, drinking less, I exercise more, and I generally pay attention to my health for a period of time. But then, after a few months, the pounds just come back on, because I didn't really change my lifestyle. I just took a break from my lifestyle. Now, it's so frustrating for me, and I guess for many other people too. It's so hard to unlearn something that you've learned throughout your life. So maybe it would be much better to start working on these habits, these bad habits, before they become ingrained in our everyday lives. Now, since 2015, we are working on this project, on this approach in the south of Limburg, where we work on the healthy lifestyle for children in schools. And the one thing these schools do is integrate this approach into the core of their daily business. Not as a project, not as a temporary approach, but as a part of the school's DNA. And in this region, this was really necessary because the closing of these coal mines is still felt here. The economic and the social effects are felt mainly at the bottom of the social ladder. For families at the bottom of the social ladder, healthy food and the chance to participate in, for instance, sport clubs are not automatically available. So children in these families grow up with social disadvantages, with economic disadvantages, but also with a health disadvantage. So if schools start working on health and healthy lifestyle, then they contribute to reducing these health disadvantages. And this is something that's really, really necessary, not only in the south of Limburg, but anywhere. Now, our schools started by extending their school day by about an hour, and they use this hour to create a longer lunch break, during which children receive a healthy lunch at school. Now, healthy food just wasn't the norm at our schools. 3 out of every 10 children came to school without even having had breakfast. And if these children brought a lunchbox, then the contents of that lunchbox would mainly be unhealthy. They would bring like cold pizza slices or snack food or candy bars and things like that. So if schools serve one healthy meal a day at school, then all children have at least one opportunity to eat healthy one time a day, regardless the families they grow up in. And the children like what we're doing here, but I'm going to get back to that. Now, this lunch we eat is not only about the eating itself. It's also about learning to make choices, because we serve the lunch as a buffet. And in this buffet, there is 80% of healthy products and 20% are slightly less healthy products. We stimulate children to make choices. We're not saying never eat unhealthy. We are saying try to make as many healthy choices as you can and try to know what you're choosing. Now, this is very important because besides the standard lunch, which consists of whole grain bread, dairy, milk, fruits, vegetables, and things like that, we also serve small amounts of strange products, simply to stimulate tasting. Now, picture this. A class filled with 4-year-olds standing over a bowl of dragon fruit. Now, dragon fruit looks kind of scary, and no one really knows what it will taste like. So the big question is, which kid will dare to take the first bite? Because if one kid does, then a lot of others will follow. And we've learned that children like this way of trying new food, and their taste palates start to grow. Now, over the years, we tried a lot of things, and not everything was successful. Once we tried seaweed. Now, for those of you who had seaweed doesn't only look strange, it also really tastes strange. And even the real daredevils in the class didn't manage to swallow it. And after school, it even got to a point where a concerned parent came to one of the teachers and asked him if it was really true that his daughter had to eat cooked grass for lunch, because that's what she thought she was eating. Now, a healthy lifestyle is not only about food and eating, it's also about more and varied physical activity. Children are at school for about 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, and a large part of these hours we want them to sit still. Learning is somehow believed to be about listening, answering questions, working on assignments, and things like that. But that's not what children are like at all. Children have an inherent need to move around, to be physically active. And you know, in our Dutch schools, we got a maximum of about 2 hours of physical activity during the week, a gym class. And so apart from the small moments during the breaks, children mainly must sit still. And more children are bothered by always having to sit still. You can see this in the classroom. There's those children which are shifting on their chairs impatiently, maybe getting up every now and then when they really shouldn't. To me, they look like little volcanoes filled with energy waiting to explode. And most children make it till the break, but then some don't. They explode in class already. It's not entirely their fault. It's also the fault of a system that just doesn't fit their needs. So we introduce more moments of movement, more moments of activity during the school day. We do this during the lessons with small moments of movement called energizers. So let's say, for instance, a teacher wants to teach his children about multiplication tables. He will ask all the children to stand up and he will take a ball. He will ask a question and throw the ball to one of the children. The child catches the ball and gives the answer, and in turn throws the ball to a next child who then will give the next answer. Now, by doing this, children are not sitting for a while, they're physically active, and they are re-energized to go on with the lessons afterwards. These are small moments of movement, but during the lunch break, we create an hour of extra physical activity for our children. After they had lunch, children go outside where they can play sports, games, and other activities, and they like what the school does here. Again, you can see children, for instance, play football or basketball, but they could also be engaged in a drama activity or a jazz dance activity. There is a lot of activities which you can choose from. The children really like it, and like with the energizers, they come back to the classroom afterwards and are re-energized to go on with the rest of the lesson. Now, as great as this all may sound, when we started in 2015, we initially provoked a lot of resistance. A lot of resistance. Most teachers just didn't feel responsible. They thought the attention for the physical health of their pupils was mainly for the parents. They didn't feel responsible. And the parents weren't very fond of our plans either, because they thought we were telling them that they didn't pay enough attention to their children's health. So it took quite some time to convince parents and teachers to go along with us. Now, 6 years later, there's no resistance anymore. We got everyone on board. And this is due to two, I guess, very important reasons. The first reason is quite obvious. The children like what we're doing. They like school better now than they did before. And it's very simple. If the children are happy, so are the parents and the teachers. The second reason is a bit more complex because it says a lot about the results that we generated with this approach. Maastricht University conducted a multidisciplinary research into the effects of working on a healthy lifestyle with children in schools. And they found that these children now, after 4 years, are healthier than before. They have a healthier weight, have less belly fat, they are generally fitter, and they've adapted healthy food habits at school as well as at home. Now, there is a lot of potential in this approach because if children maintain these healthy habits throughout the rest of their life, then they might pass them on to their children, just like my parents did with their less healthy habits. Working on early prevention like this could really be a game changer that could bring us a lot closer to a healthy generation. And more people are starting to see the opportunities here. Parents, teachers, policymakers on all levels, and even businesses, they all want to contribute to a healthy generation. And our children deserve to grow up healthy. That is even laid down in the 1989 Convention on the Rights of the Child. And still now, 30 years later, not all children have equal health opportunities, not even in the Netherlands. So we haven't won the race yet, but we are well on our way. The movement toward a healthy generation is growing slowly but surely. Now, my talk today was not only intended to be informative, it's also a call to action. If you look at the children in your lives, what do you see? Do you see room for improvement where their health is concerned? Do you see a way that you could contribute? Do you feel responsible? Because in my opinion, it is high time that we all take responsibility for the health of our next generation. Each and every one of us on his or her own level. Sometimes privately as a parent, an aunt or an uncle or someone else who's close to the child. Sometimes professionally in health or in education. We need this collective effort to be successful, and we need it to break this pattern of ill health that seemed so unbreakable. In my opinion, not doing anything is really not an option. Thank you very much.